Welcome everybody. I am live, and this is the second official week of our of my podcast. Eventually, I will have some guests, and I would like to share my usual discussions with other people online because anytime when you speak with somebody else, basically it's like conversations with the right people are like zippers. You start with one idea, and then that person doesn't say anything else but acknowledge your ideas and adds on top of it. You do the same, they do the same. So two separate ends can be zipped together by the bread conversations of two or more people. Hence my intention of having other guests in this podcast. However, I feel very rushed because I might have worked more than I intended to today. So for that reason, let's start with the breathing exercise. Very short, just relative awareness so we can all activate our diaphragm and maybe uh, engage in this conversation through the alpha brain waves rather than beta. So I'm going to simply bring my attention to my breath, not changing, not altering, just seeing where I breathe and then slowly shift my intention towards my belly. So you do the same. Just feel the presence of your breath moving in and out of your belly and feel the entire abdominal wall, not just the front, but the sides and the back expand and lightly contract. Expand and relax, contract the belly. Exhale it out. Just one more. Expand the belly. And release, exhale. Welcome back, everybody. So when I was thinking about the general taboo against why, I'm going to say it in parentheses, why is it bad to be selfish? You know, there is actually a merit to it. I'm not just saying that, hey, it's good to be selfish, but I'm just trying to draw a sarcastic line that most people who do stuff for name of selflessness are actually nothing but, the second your identity, we are going to talk about identity as well. The second your identity is being a selfless person, then basically you are feeding your ego through selflessness. I was thinking of this person who is very, very giving, and then her sister got into, maybe she fell or something, and then she broke her leg. So she immediately left and then helped her out. And their relationship was at that moment was a little bit frictious, and the person who actually fell and broke their leg, I'm not sure whether they wanted the help of the other person or not. But regardless, she went ahead and helped, and her help was not received well. Although, from a third or fourth point of view, she did help. She, let's say, Amy, the first one, and then the person who broke her leg, let's say, come up with a female name right now. 3, 2, 1, Sarah. Okay, Amy and Sarah. Why not? So Amy is the helper. Sarah is the person who got into the accident. So Amy is like all broken-hearted, and then she's telling me that she tried her best, and then her help didn't really receive well. And I just wanted to, differentiate a point for Amy's awareness that by basically the person was not in need that Amy tried to help. And it was actually against Sarah's desire to be helped, especially from that specific person. So by showing up and then still helping and then coming back and then telling me that, I helped so much. She wasn't complaining like this, but I helped so much and then I still don't get a thank you or something. This is relatively selfish because in the first place, you are just upset that your identity as a helper was not received well, which is perfectly okay. But why do we call selfish bad, or why do we call selfish good? So I started to think about the entire evolution of adjectives and all this stuff. And I'm thinking first time people are talking, there's still a survival limit. And maybe around those times they have just started to, make little tribes, and they are living in little farms and all that stuff. So for these people, imagine basically you have one animal and the rest is all living in the fire. So basically it is you as humans. So the identity is humanity or the society or the well-being of the family. And the threat is immediate death of hunger or threat of another animal killing you. So in this concept, it is very bad as in from a survivalist point to be selfish, because what you do will immediately affect the livelihood of somebody else. But as society moves, history moves, we move. Now we are, let's say, in the 18th, 19th century, 20th century, and we are more governed by the norms of the society. So this identity of self is only established if you are an integral or an esteemed part of the society. And in this case, it took a lot of family roles. So we valued those kids who did stuff just out of their good heart. I mean, as a kid is probably just trying to be a good boy or a good girl just so their reward systems are activated. But anyways, like we are like, you did something without thinking of yourself that is good. And then this is society, because the identity is the self, and the self is the adjuster of the judgment. Self is the part of you that is making the judgment. So if that self is society, then the society is saying, hey, like you are, working too much for yourself, then it's not good. Which is different because we are living, especially in the United States, we are living in an individualist society. But still, when people give so much of themselves, society just say, oh, you are a great person. And then this person doesn't even know who they are, but they are just giving and giving and giving. So eventually they will feel a sense of being disposable or over giving or depleted or drained. So a sense of selfless duty in the idealized form should not necessarily make you feel any of that. Like if you do something selfless, but at the end of it, if you feel used, then basically that wasn't selfless. That was something else. But if you truly do something selfless and then don't even care about it because you didn't do it out of a self of selflessness, you did it because you are selfless and you didn't even think about anything, and it was just a service in the bigger picture of the unity and oneness and God. And all of a sudden, you are not even expecting a thank you. Like it is just, then basically you are flowing. There is no self, and then you are part of the nature of giving and taking, because the second you give somebody help, that person is also giving you the satisfaction of helping somebody. Like there is always, like it doesn't, nothing has to happen through money or through goods or anything. There is always a give and take in the nature of life. And then the givers and takers, they all have their nature. So in this case, calling this selfless and then calling that selfish, we just have to, again, back to the first point, we have to become aware of who is this self that is making the judgment. And how do we find that self? That's the beautiful question. Well, you can look in the mirror to see as much as you can see, and you can look at your judgments of other people's to see more about yourself again, because you judging somebody else is very beneficial for you. You judging somebody else has nothing to do with that somebody else. They don't even need to hear it. But then the second you come up with a judgment about somebody, that tells you something about where you need to do your own work. So in this case, if you are hating something about somebody, let's say, let's give should I give an intimate example immediate from my life? Yes. Especially when I was in high school, it was good for me to pray, but but those who didn't pray, I didn't quite like that. I really didn't like those people who didn't pray because I had to pray, and then in a way they didn't. So this like I wouldn't say hate, but this unpleasant sensations that I was using against others eventually came to the fact that hey, like you are not really praying either, because praying, according to my beliefs, praying is communication with God, and God says you pray for yourself. I wasn't praying for myself. I didn't know how it was to pray for myself. I was making sure that I was doing my 5 times to either relax something in my psyche, but that psyche is coming from the seeds that was fed that like you had to pray. So first level of authority, make sure that you make your parents happy, because I was praying, so they thought that I was a good boy, whatever. So fast forwarding it now that hatred or that dislike or unpleasant thing is gone, because I know what I'm doing, and I know and I can prove it with my own scripture that what I'm doing is for myself. And everybody has the right to, or has the duty to be in charge of their own experience. So give it all, whatever works. Really, in life, this is a threatening statement or a scary statement, but in life, what works is what works. If something works for you, you do it. If it doesn't, you don't. And as you evolve, the concept of you changes, because if you are a person who is trying to survive, then basically you're gonna do whatever it takes to survive. If you're a person who is trying to keep peace, then you are gonna do whatever it takes to keep peace. But then this person of who you are is also in evolution. So I would like to tie this to the good things, that by helping others, you are helping yourself. Is basically the funny thing is, when I first started this journey, and in the school, everybody was choosing some kind of a project. And I noticed that this person was choosing cancer, this person was choosing disease A, this person was choosing disease B. And they were all interested in that specific subject because they could relate to it from their experience, and then they wanted to uh, help other people heal, go through the same thing. But I was not too aware of my own things. So I'm like, let me work about stress, because my identity was that I never experienced nervousness. I mean, is this even possible? But for years in my life, I was the person who never experienced any anxiety. And I didn't. I didn't know what I was experiencing, but I never called it anxiety. So I was just thinking to myself what kind of presentation that I should make for this class. And I chose stress because it made sense for me. It's very common, very easy to work with. And as I dove deeper and deeper into the stress, I'm like, wow, like I basically am a fuzzball of stress that I never knew. And I never knew because I never in my life had relaxed in a way. So basically, even instinctively, I didn't know why I was choosing stress, but then by trying to help others get over their own stress and anxiety, all of a sudden, I help myself. So in a nutshell, know yourself, and through yourself, you will need everything that you really, truly need to know. I'm going to cut it right here. Uh, I appreciate you listening to this, and subscribe to the channel. Click on the bell icon if you want to get notified next time I go online. And in peace and gratitude, everybody. Have a great day and night.